Hello everyone, in this video we are going to see the concept of types of functions in C. We all know that function is a set of instruction that is doing some repeated task. Is a block of code that repeats a set of tasks, that is called as a function. Okay, now let us see what are all the types of function. Basically there are two types of function. They are library function and user defined function. What is library function is the system already built some standard functions, whether it is maybe for input output process like a printf, scanf, or the main function, or other mathematical, statistical, or whatever the functions already built in, that is called as a library function. And what is user defined function is the user, for their necessity to do any processing, they can create any number of functions, that is called as an user defined function. Okay, so what is the purpose of, or what is the advantage of user defined function is it will reduce the coding complexity. That means we can divide the work into group of works and we can code the works individually as a module. That is the main aim of the function. Okay, let us see with the example how the function looks like, what are all the types of the functions. Okay, so in real time a function in C may define with or without a parameters, and a function may or may not return a value. It entirely depends upon the user requirement. That means the parameters are the one which is inside the bracket of the function after the function name, that is the parameters. Okay, so the function may or may not have parameters. So on that basis there are four different types of user defined functions. What are they? Function with no arguments and no return values. That means the function within the function bracket there is no variables, that is no arguments, and also there is no return value, that means void. Okay, so void great num empty. This is similarly like an void main program starting. Okay, so this is one format or example of void great num is the name of the function. There is no parameter, so parameter, there is no parameter, and also return type is void. This is one type, no arguments, no return value. Then second type is no arguments and a return value. That means the function return type is integer and it may be float or char, whatever, some type is there, and that is some return value is there, but the parameters are null. That means there is a nil parameter, there is no parameters, that is the no arguments return value. So it is like int great num is the function name, no parameters. Okay, like how you give a int main function name, that is built-in function. This is user defined function. Okay, and next to combination is function with arguments and no return value. So arguments are there, int a and int b, and no return values. For this no return value, it is void. So void is no return value, returns nothing but gets the input as int a and int b. Okay, and next the last combination is function with arguments and a return value. That means the return type is int, and again the function parameters are a comma b, int a comma int b, and the function name is great num. So an example is given using the function name called great num with all the four combination: no return type, no arguments, return type, no arguments, and then no return type, arguments, and finally arguments and return types. So now are the four combinations. Okay, and then we can have either an array also as a parameter. That means the parameters here we have seen the parameter is int a, int b. There can also be mixture of parameters, int a, float b, char c, whatever it may be. So there may be any number of parameters inside the function name. Here you can see the difference. Int is the return type, sum is the function name, and int a are within this square bracket. This square bracket implies it is an array. What is an array? Array is a collection of similar elements under a same name. Okay, so we can also pass the parameter as an array, like how you have the parameters as integer variable or float variable or char variable. We can also have an array. That means a set of values also can be passed as an in the format of array as an parameter. That is one another format. Okay, and then we have also can have a pointer in the parameter list to hold the base address of an array. Suppose instead of saying the whole array itself, we can also pass the base address. What is the base address? Is the pointer is the variable name and this star represent the reference, the base address. So the base address also can be passed as a parameter. That means this format shows that the parameter may be either a full array or it may be a reference parameter like a pointer variable. Okay, now let us see with the another type of function called as a nesting of function. It is not a type, but it is a method. What is nesting of function is like how we have nested if, nested for, nested loops. Same way we can also have nesting of functions. That means one function can be declared within the other function. That is called as a nesting of function. So C allows nesting of functions, that is to use or call one function inside the another function's body. So this is the function body of function 1, and inside the function body, after some line of statements, function 2 is called. This is called as a nesting of function. Let us see with an example as a syntax how this is the syntax that shows how the nesting of functions taking place. So function 1 and function 2. Note clearly here. Let us see the next type, which is the recursion function. What is recursion function is? It is a special way of nesting the function. So this is also nesting the function. You see here, this is where a function call itself inside it. That means function 1, it starts so many statements, and again function 1 itself. So note the difference here. In nesting function, inside function 1, function 2 is called. This is called nesting function. But here the case is inside the function 1, function 1 itself is called. That means this function repeats and repeats and repeats within the same function itself. That is called as a recursion, repeatedly calling itself. Okay, so let us have an example of our Fibonacci series where we have done is without the recursion in the previous classes. Now let us see how the Fibonacci function is written using the recursion. So there are many ways of writing a program. Here one way is we have seen in the previous classes the Fibonacci programs written without any function concept. Now we are using the recursion function concept. So how to use the function? Include stdio.h, and we are just it's actually int only. Okay, so int fib int of n. So int is the return type, and then fib is the int space n, and then if n less than 1, return n. That means if n less than 1 means Fibonacci cannot be found out. So the value itself is 1 only. Otherwise return fib of n minus 1 plus fib of n minus 2. We know that the Fibonacci series is obtained by adding the previous two terms. So n minus 1 term and the n minus 2 term to get the nth term. Okay, as we did 0 plus 1 is 1. We'll see the output. We can already we have seen this. We can also check the output also. Okay, now the main program starts. So int is n is equal to 9. This program is going to find out 9 terms only. So n is given. We can also change as we wish. Okay, so the counter is I is equal to 1. So for I is equal to 1, I less than equal to 9, I plus plus. This for loop goes print %d slash n and then fib of I. Here the function call is made. Okay, so this is called function call. When the name comes, it is function call. So when fib of the system sees the fib name, it will go to the fib function and repeatedly call the values and return the answer to the main function, and the main function keep on printing the answer. So this is how the recursion is used to write the Fibonacci program. Okay, now so that means the same program can be written in many different ways depending upon the availability or the necessity. Hope you understood the concept of what are the different types of calling the function with and without arguments, or with and without return types, and also the recursion function, also the nesting of functions. And thanks for watching.